Hi, my name is Cynthia Corser. I'm going to talk about my speech today is going to be about autism and the correlation between autism and video games. According to the DSM-4 criteria, which is what most psychologists and mental health professionals base diagnostic criteria off of for to diagnose a child or a person. There are five main criteria for high functional autism. And all of them have to be seen at a young age. They also, the symptoms have to impair them socially, and these symptoms cannot be explained by any other disabilities. The five main criteria are social communication or interaction. They have a hard time with social interaction. They have a hard time making friends. They have a hard time keeping friends. They have an abnormal approach as far as conversation. They can't have a back and forth conversation that's very one-sided, very monopolized by whatever topic that they are obsessed with. For my son, it was video games. That's all he talked about. If we tried to change the subject, it would immediately go back to video games or what video game he was playing or how good he was with a video game. And if someone would try to tell them that they were better at a video game than he was, then he immediately became upset and aggressive because he had to be the best at everything as far as video games was concerned. They also have a hard time with nonverbal communication with eye contact. They can't understand facial expressions. A lot of times kids with autism won't look you in the eye. They'll look down or they'll look over, but they won't look you directly in the eye. They also have a hard time with facial expressions. They have a hard time recognizing if someone's upset or happy, which is really difficult when you're in school and your teacher's displeased and they frown at you, or even as a parent, it's really difficult when you roll your eyes at your kid and you're just like you're being ridiculous, and the kid doesn't understand it, doesn't get it, and just keeps going and going and going to the point where you have to physically say stop doing what you're doing because they don't understand those facial cues, where most other people would see the facial expression or the roll of the eye or the frown and immediately stop because they recognize that they're upsetting another person. They have repetition movement or limited interest. Like I said, my son, his limited interest was video games. He was obsessed with video games. It's all he talked about. It's all he did. He had repetition movement. He had to turn off a light switch at certain times of the day, certain orders. He had to get dressed in certain orders. If that order was disrupted, he would have a breakdown. He would have a meltdown. They have a difficulty with change. If their classroom was changed, if he would go into the classroom and the teacher decided that she wanted to move around the classroom, he would go in and he would have a complete breakdown. So the teachers were very accommodating, luckily, where they would let us know the day before, just to let you know, I changed around the classroom so that we could prepare him physically, or they would let us know if they were going to be out for the day even. Because he had a hard time and I knew that he would have a breakdown and I'd have to go pick him up from school because he couldn't handle it. So those are the five main criteria for autism. The different therapies that work with children with autism, the one that I found best is social therapy. They are starting a lot of social groups now for children with autism. The more social, even though it's difficult for them and it's painful as a parent to watch a lot of times, if you get them interested in sports and expose them to people, they often learn how to, they'll never become cured from autism, but they can learn how to function in the world. They can start to learn certain facial cues. You can get certain board games now that have facial expressions so that they start to learn and memorize because they are highly, highly intelligent. My son is a 99 percentile of children his age. Because of that intelligence, a lot of times they can learn to compensate. So we used flashcards with facial expressions on them so that he could learn when somebody made this face, this is what it means. Also, they're having many social, we took him to social groups. He played football, he did wrestling, he did track. The more interactive he was with people, the more he learned how to interact with people. He's still not great at it, but he's definitely better than he was. We're not getting expelled anymore. We're not getting anything like that, which is great. A lot of people try nutrition. They try vegan diet, or they to cut all the sugar out of their diet. I've heard of gluten-free diets, and some people have had success with this. I personally tried it and didn't have any success with it. The only thing that it did was angered him. And he would sneak food then, and to the point where he would throw up because he would go to friends' houses or he would go to school with his lunch money. He would buy candy and pop and cookies to the point where he would become physically ill, and I would have to go pick him up from school because he was physically gorging on this food that he wasn't allowed to eat at home. I know some people though that have tried these different kind of therapies and had some mild success with them, but personally, I haven't had any success with it. You can also, a lot of people say that vaccinations may be the reason that these kids are having autism, or why they are having autism. Personally, I don't see a correlation with it, and there has been no scientific proof that vaccinations have done anything with autism or is related to autism. Um, Personally, I'm wondering if it has anything to do with the fact that we are such a non-social group of people now. You see teenagers that sit on the couch next to each other and text each other. They don't talk back and forth to each other. Children now don't go outside and play like they used to. There's no hula hooping. There's no playing baseball in the side yard. They're inside playing video games. So there's no way to learn at an early age like we did when we were kids. We were outside in the woods. We were hanging out with our friends all the time, constantly. So you learn those social interactions. And instead, now kids are sitting in front of the TV for hours and hours at a time, or they're playing online with video games. So you don't see the facial expressions that you need to learn anymore. And there's no consequences. You can post something on Facebook, or you can post something online, and you don't have to listen or don't have the consequences of people's reactions. So to me, it's definitely, it hinders and it increases the people that already have disabilities in this. My son is 18 years old. He went into the service, which is something that he needed to do, because I knew if he went to college, he would just gorge out on junk food and not ever go to school. He would just sit there and play video games all the time. He almost didn't graduate from high school because of this. So yeah, I think that there's definitely a correlation between video games and texting and the technology that we have here nowadays, as far as hindering these children. So that's it. Thanks.